a lot of you here know me from my time with the film Dreamgirl, a film about female entrepreneurs that we premiered in New York City. I discovered the film via an email in my inbox from a newsletter that I was on. It landed in my inbox, and it was this call to action for a Kickstarter campaign about this film to showcase the lives of women entrepreneurs and diverse women entrepreneurs. And I was hooked. I was 23 at the time, so ready to change the world, embark on this new adventure, take over the world. And we did our version of that for about 2 years. What I didn't realize at the time was that my relationship with success and my relationship with being something in the world was super fucked up. Pardon my vulgarities. And it took a couple of aha moments during that time for me to realize that. And the first was, when we're in a space of social impact, when we're working on mission-driven work, we can get so blinded by the fact that the work that we're trying to do is to empower people to change their lives. So then everything I do in regards to this must be great, right? Wrong. If you're sacrificing your own well-being, your own mental health in order to pursue whatever impact-driven cause it is, then there is a realignment that needs to take place. There's a reprioritizing that needs to take place. And that's what I learned through my 3 years of working on Dreamgirl. So that came to a head, and what the video would show is that the same week that we premiered our film at the White House, I had had a surgery to remove cancer that was in my body. And that the same week that I was on a magazine cover, I had a second surgery to remove the remainder of the cancer from my body. The same week I found out I was on Oprah's Super Soul 100 was the same week that I was diagnosed. A lot of chaos in my life. I look back at that time in awe and wonder. And I wonder about the circumstances of my life that led me to that point and led me to riding those waves. And it's only recently that I realized that those waves will always come. At that time, I ping-ponged with every high and every low that I was experiencing. I let the chaos consume me. And what I've worked on this past 2 years since moving back home to Ottawa from New York is finding that steady space. And now for today. When I was looking up chaos and when I was reading about why Creative Mornings chose chaos as the theme, one of the reasons, or one of the explanations, is that the Greeks used to describe chaos as the formless matter that existed before the creation of the universe. And then in the 1600s, humans took it and started describing it with adjectives like disorientation and pain. And so the conclusion that I came to was, if the universe, prior to our existence, prior to the existence of matter, if that was chaos, that state was chaos, then don't we come from chaos? Are humans not designed from chaos? Is that not what we have been created from? And if that's the case, then are we not able to grapple with chaos, to be able to sustain through chaos, and to learn how to dance with chaos? When I think of the things that ground me enough to make it through those ups and the downs, it comes back to a personal moment of crisis, as all missions do, a moment of reckoning. And that moment of reckoning led me on a journey that I'm going to share with you today that showed me the 3 pillars in my life that helped me stay steady through chaos. Now, before I dive into that, I want to ask you, as I mentioned earlier, what are your 3 things that keep you grounded when shit's hitting the fan, when life is insane? So pull out your phone, pull out, if you have a pen and paper with you, and jot those 3 things down. Or chat with your neighbor about it. I'm going to be asking you guys in a couple seconds here what those things are. So for those of you who might want to speak up, be prepared. But chat amongst yourselves, write it down, or if you want to keep this to yourself, keep it to yourself. What are your 3 things that keep you grounded through chaos? So let me ask you, what grounds you through chaos?
I said for myself, water. Like we talked about things that like helped us when we're in chaos. So I said water, laughter, and food.
Water, laughter, and food. I agree, wholeheartedly. Which of those three is the most for you?
Laughter.
Laughter.
Yeah.
That joy.
Yes.
Yes, beautiful. Who else?
I said understanding,
Understanding,
mindfulness,
mindfulness,
sleep.
and sleep. Solid. Who else? I see you in the back. Yeah. Support, wine, and cats. I agree with two of those three. I myself not a cat person, but that's okay. One more from the back. Back row. Where are you at? Yes. Your two huskies? Friendships and nature. Beautiful. So if I were to bucket these into larger life areas, what I realized for myself is my buckets, there's three things. And there's one bucket that's a lot bigger than the others. And it's the wellness bucket. It's the water, it's the huskies, it's the nature, the mindfulness. My secondary buckets are work and impact. And this is the trifecta that I want to talk to you about today. So one thing that we as humans try to do is we try and make sense of chaos. And what I've learned recently is that the more we try to make sense of chaos, the more we try to hold on to the things outside of ourselves that we cannot control, the more out of control we become. So my mental pivot has become, instead of trying to make sense of chaos, instead of when someone dies trying to rationalize it or understand why they maybe had to go, instead of trying to convince myself out of the fact that chaos is just chaos, I allow myself to surrender. I allow myself to say, I can't make sense of chaos. This is just life. Death, trauma, grief, it's just a part of life. What can I control? And for some of us, when we ask that question when we're younger, it's what can I control? And it turns into addiction. It turns into things that plague us. It turns into things that numb us out so that we don't have to actually deal with the pain. And so when I look back at my wellness bucket, I realize that my entire life, I have been thirsting for wellness. All I've wanted my entire life is to feel good, to be happy, to be continued source of joy, to just be okay. And I lusted after it like it was the most incredible thing that I could never get. And so I never got there. When I was younger, I grew up in a household filled with alcoholism, abuse, and still a lot of love. And my numbing mechanisms turned into food and work. Food. My mom would feed us. Indian families, they're nice and big. We love our rich foods. She would show us love through that which she could put in us. It was what she could control in the circumstance that we were in. And so I loved food. And man, did it help me numb. The more I ate, the heavier I felt, the more grounded I could feel in this world. When things would go on in the household that would upset a child, I would eat. Work. When I was in 4th grade, I was failing. How many 4th graders do you know that are actually failing school? It was a really hard time in my life, and there was an intervention that took place with a teacher of mine and my mom. And what I realized in that moment was, holy shit, positive attention is so much better than negative attention. What if I excel in school? What if I do really well in extracurriculars? Not only will that give me the attention I'm lusting for, but it'll also keep me out of the house. So that's what I did, work and food. The thing is, you can only avoid pain for so long, you can only numb for so long until it destroys your life. Fast forward to January 11th, 2017, my day of reckoning. It took me a long time to realize that my co-founder and I had a very unhealthy relationship. and that my relationship with myself was extremely unhealthy. And waking up on January 11th, 2017, I opened my eyes in my cozy Brooklyn apartment, and I looked around, and things looked a little different. I covered my left eye, and I looked out of my right. Everything looked fine. Then I covered my right eye, and I looked out of my left, and I couldn't really see anything. And I thought, oh, this will go away, it's fine. But the vision didn't come back. And so a week later, I'm sitting at a neuro-optometrist's office, which I did not know existed. But when you're in the US, in New York, and you're looking for healthcare, you find the most cheap option that you can access. And so it was a neuro-optometrist. And she had me doing these exercises where I would cover one eye, look at a string, and make my eye go from point A to point B to point C. For me, the work addict, my entire sense of self was destroyed. My mind, my greatest asset, was gone. I couldn't focus on 3 balls on one string. During that assessment, she said to me, you have something called optic neuritis. Your optic nerve is inflamed. In 60% of cases, it's related to multiple sclerosis. Very matter of fact, as a doctor does. Do you have a history of MS in your family? Meanwhile, in my brain, no history of MS. I had just recovered from cancer. What the fuck was going on in my life? Took all I had to finish that session, to walk into the waiting room and see my fiance, and in my mind say to myself, this man who signed up for life with me did not sign up for this chaos. Walked out to the street with him holding me, and it was pouring rain, like a movie scene, and I just wept, and I cried, and he carried me home. A week later, I moved back home. I left my company. I left Dream Girl, and I began the journey of reclaiming my life and reclaiming my time, reclaiming my mind, and reclaiming my health. So that journey, the past 19 months or so, has helped me uncover the 3 core foundational parts of wellness that I now focus on: spiritual, emotional, and physical. So when it comes to spirit, who here, well, I actually won't ask this question. We have people who are faith-filled, religious. Faith is their cornerstone. We have those who talk about the universe and spirit and higher self, and then we have those who connect to nature or just life, are present. I'm a mixture of all 3 of these things. But recently, I was really mad. Mad at God, mad at spirit, mad at whatever it is that's out there that can cause so much havoc and wreak so much pain in so much of life. That has made chaos the constant that we all have to experience. Fuck that guy. Really. So that anger at spirit, that anger at whatever it is out there, it was so important for me to feel that. We have been socialized in a way where we're told our emotions are not valid, that on a spectrum of emotions, all the extremes, we don't need to be there. We just need to stay in the center. How can you be calm? How much do you meditate? How mindful can you be? Can you be right here, right now? Perhaps part of being right here, right now is feeling the spectrum of emotions. Let the anger out when it comes out. Let the sadness out when it comes out. Let the grief out when it comes out. And that has allowed me to understand that spirit is the constant, just like chaos. To come back to a bit of spiritual knowing and knowing that I can be angry at whatever it is that has us here, but I can still live. I can still be here. Nature has been huge for me in this aspect. Going for long nature walks, listening to the breeze, listening to the trees rustle, seeing deer on my front lawn, being in awe of a tornado. We have no control. We have no control. So spiritual ties into emotional for me as well. As I said, the emotional spectrum. How do you feel all the things? Give yourself permission to feel those things and stop numbing out from feeling those things. When I think of emotional, I realize that humans, whether you've been through significant trauma or not, whether you think you need it or not, deserve the company of another who will witness their pain, witness their experience as a third party. Therapy, great thing. Therapy worked for me traditionally when I was younger, but as I grew up, I realized that it was actually coaching that suited me better. Mindset coaching. Having someone help me work through PTSD, having someone help me work through the traumas that I've experienced, having someone help me rationalize this intrinsic anger that I've been holding on to for the past few years, perhaps my whole life. And so for people who are looking for coaching or looking for therapy options, where I started was finding people online whose work resonated with me. The teachings that they were giving, hitting home with me, letting that guide me and direct me to the people that I wanted to become closer to. Whose programs did I want to try out? Who did I want to help teach me? That helped me figure out who my coaches are. For me, Oprah's Super Soul Sunday is a great podcast to listen to when I just need to hear something. Abraham Hicks videos on YouTube are exceptional. And here in town, Epic Fitness, my trainer over there, Steph Karlovitz, she gives me a lot of great knowledge and has helped me through a whole bunch. So maintaining emotional well-being is huge. My third aspect of wellness, the physical. I had to conquer, not even conquer, I had to face the fact that I was addicted to food, that it was something that I was using to numb. When I was hit with a neurological illness, there is this beautiful app in New York called Seamless, and you can order from any restaurant in the entire island of Manhattan, and it will be at your front door within 15 to 20 minutes. Uber Eats is like a modicum of what Seamless actually is. It's a beautiful thing. When you're looking to numb, even more beautiful. So Seamless was my best friend. And it took another life-altering moment for me to kind of wake up and be like, yes, I've changed so many aspects of my life, but I still have a crux. I still have something that I am leaning on to numb me, to keep me out of the present, to keep me unconscious. And that was having a friend of mine pass away very recently. He was asleep, and he didn't wake up. Natural causes, 28 years old. Devastating. When I woke up and found out the news, I realized that this is a privilege. This moment, you being here today, this moment is a privilege. And we have to make the most of it. So that woke me up. I got allergy tested. I started respecting that my body was screaming at me to stop hurting it. Inflammation, bringing that down so that I could be more present, more here, more now. Local food, organic food. It helped me so much. That was a huge part of this journey for me, and in fact, probably the hardest part for me to overcome, was choosing to not let this inanimate substance, food, hold anything over me, to let myself actually feel what I was feeling, the pain that I had, and to move forward through that. So this whole trifecta within a trifecta of wellness, without this, I wouldn't be able to be here today talking about this with truth instead of faking it. And so I want to ask you guys, another opportunity for you to reflect. In these three areas of your life, in physical wellness, emotional wellness, and spiritual wellness, pick one. What do you want to do to improve in that area for yourself? And how do you think that will up-level your life? So just take some time on your phone. If you want to chat with the person next to you, feel free to do that. But in these three areas, emotional wellness, physical, and spiritual wellness, what can you do to up-level your life? So just like last time, I'm going to throw to you, for those who feel comfortable, what area did you choose and what is it that you want to work on? Intimate, yes. But I still would love for you to share. Yes. Okay?
I was saying that similar to yourself, like I have an illness where I find that most of my wellness goes towards healing, and in reflecting, I realize I don't know how much of my wellness in any of those categories is actually for myself, instead of just like healing through my illness. So I think that I want to try to find in every area something that's for me, my spirit, for like clarity itself, and not just for what I'm trying to heal or recover from.
That's huge. So what Clary said was shifting in those buckets to having the focus be healing to rid yourself of illness or to be well outside of illness, and instead having the focus come back to what does she need? what do you truly need? That's beautiful. Yes?
I think for me, because I've always succeeded in a mental capacity, I put a lot of effort into mental wellness and spiritual wellness, but I tend to like cast aside the importance of physical wellness because it's never something I've been rewarded for or succeeded at. And it's definitely as I get older, realizing that I have to make an effort, like even just going for a walk every day, like making it more of an effort the same way I made an effort with study and with work and with spiritual enrichment.
Definitely. So she said that she had rewards coming in for mental, for emotional, for spiritual wellness. And now physical is at the forefront.
Yeah.
And figuring out what those rewards are going to be for yourself. What are you going to put in place for you to perhaps help motivate in that aspect?
And maybe even become less reward-oriented.
Become less reward-oriented, absolutely. I go back and forth between that all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Decoupling from reward, decoupling from outcome, and having it be integrated into your daily. Yeah. Who else? Right in the back. Practicing forgiveness and getting those things out of your system and not holding on to them and coming from a place of empathy. Absolutely. For me, part of getting to a space of that, which I by no means, there are still people I'm very angry at, was allowing myself to feel the anger, which is really scary at times because I was not used to that at all. But thank you for sharing that. Maybe we'll do one more. Yes? I'm very proud of you. Thank you. Grief and how it affects your life. Thank you for sharing that. That was very courageous. And I would like to honor your courage by sharing that yesterday I actually found out that a friend of university passed away yesterday. She and I were diagnosed with cancer at the same time, skin cancer. We were both given very positive prognoses. We survived that bout, and she was re-diagnosed this summer, and she passed yesterday. So thank you. It was really hard for me to pull myself together yesterday and this morning to be here with you today and be able to teach something. Because when you're in grief, nothing matters. You lose all semblance of what matters. You lose all semblance of yourself. Grief is the most discombobulating of experiences. And this has been a year plagued with grief for me. So thank you for sharing that. Something I want to share with you. In the book Option B by Sheryl Sandberg, she lost her husband very tragically. One of the biggest takeaways from that book for me was when she said that after you've gone through a significant trauma or grief in your life, you lose your confidence. You need people to help reassure you that you're still the same, that you're still capable, that you're still strong. So what I'm going to do now is, what's our time at? I haven't been following the time. 9:40, okay. So I'm going to come back to work. I'm going to shift to impact as the next pillar we're going to look at, and we're going to riff off this concept of grief. So impact, when I think of impact as a pillar of this trifecta from wellness, impact, and work, impact for me includes the impact we have on our community, how we're investing in our community, how we're investing in our world, and the impact we allow our communities to have on us. How rigid are our personal boundaries? Do we let people in? Do we let people support us? Do we let people help us? So in building up my confidence after major physical trauma for me and continued grief in my life, it has taken me to take down my walls and say to the people in my life, I accept your support. I accept your help. Let's do this. We are in a reckoning. You are standing by my side. You are here for a reason. Let's tango through the chaos. But it's very hard for us to do that and to build communities that we love and to build communities that we trust. We can be shut down because people have done wrong to us, because we're holding on to anger. You can pivot. You can look to the people in your life who do care for you, who do hold you, who do show up for you. Through each of my diagnoses, people fell out of my life. They didn't show up. It was too scary. It was too hard. It was too raw. That was okay, because over here there was a couple people who showed up for me consistently. So let that love in. Let yourself be held by that love. Let that impact resonate for you. Next, impacting the communities around us. Who here was directly or indirectly impacted by the tornado? How important for you, or for the people you know who were directly impacted, was community support? Crucial. This community of Creative Mornings, different communities like this that bring Ottawa closer together, are the cornerstone of this city, are the cornerstone of how we rise through traumatic incidents like the tornado. I had a bunch of friends come over to hang out. We had a bonfire, had power at our place, everyone showered, they were all clean. That was my little way of helping. Today, donating to the United Way if you can. Whatever else it was that you did at that time, you left an impact on this community. There's a caveat to that, though. For you to really leave an impact on others, and I don't want to diminish. Like, part of this whole conversation is we humans, as part of being within chaos, we are constantly imperfect. There is no perfect version. I'm still struggling with stuff. As much as I'm up here, sermonizing my life and being like, these are the things, I still have so much I'm working on. We are imperfect beings. And so, to be able to serve the people around us, if we take care of our inner wellness first, if we know that we're solid, like nothing can move me emotionally, spiritually, and by move me, I don't mean not feeling. Yesterday, I cried all day. I was really upset. I canceled meetings with Kylie. I said, I need some time. I need to pull myself together so I can do this talk in the morning. But that's part of being honest and true with where we're at. That is part of this equation. So building on that foundation of wellness, allowing yourself to be in service of others, but not at a cost for yourself, not at a detriment for yourself. So impact, huge part of the pillars. Final one is work. So where does work fit into this whole equation? I took 8 months of the year off last year. I had the financial means to do that. That is a privilege. It is not something that I take lightly. I fully accept and acknowledge that. However, as I come back to work now, as I've been rebuilding my company, building new companies, I realize that if I were to look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, my basic needs met, psychological needs, I've worked through. So what does that leave me at? Self-actualization, self-realization. This is where work comes in for me. Going from having a job that I am doing because it's another form of my self-numbing, to a lifelong vocation, a lifelong commitment to something greater than myself that I can align those jobs with. That's something that will guide me when I'm pulling some 12-hour days, which I know we all have to do. That higher motivating factor that will guide me when maybe I don't love my job all the time. So finding your way up through and taking care of your wellness, enabling yourself to look at work through a new light. And something I want to add here, and why I brought this note up is because I don't want to mess this point up, is my commitment is to improvement for our collective benefit. How we can societally, incrementally improve to become more inclusive, more respectful, and more aware, specifically in the private sector, specifically in a consumerist space. Through a commitment to being well ourselves and through committing to supporting our communities and world unrelentingly, through playing the game on our terms. Financial success is critical, especially for minority communities, as in this world. It levels the power dynamics and the playing field. But rather than follow previous blueprints of success where people get sick by working to the bone, working towards retirement, getting all the money that they need, and then living the life they've always dreamed, we can incorporate that wellness factor now, commit ourselves to wellness, impact, and profit, and change the world in that way, or change our world in that way. So to wrap, because I have to do that, these three pillars of wellness, impact, and work have been critical to me reclaiming my life and for me to remain steady when chaos hits. Steady means no longer numbing, no longer hurting myself, and committing to an awakened life, to being present right now, to being conscious right now. So I ask you guys, I'm going to use my last minute and a half here so that you guys can write a commitment to yourself, one sentence. What are you going to commit to walking out of today? It could be a word. It could be joy. It could be better work environment. It could be more focus on myself. Just write that sentence for yourself. We're going to take a couple seconds to do that before Maxine takes me off stage. Your one intention. Do you guys got your intentions down? I'm going to ask for 2 to share, very quick. One intention. What are you walking away with? What are you committing to? Yeah? Being grounded, humble, and courageous. Can we get a round of applause to that intention? Next up, I would like to hear from a dude. No dudes have spoken. I know we're going very much into our feels today, but join me. Yes?
Mine is to trade expectation for appreciation.
To trade expectation for appreciation. Absolutely. Mine is to continue towards consciousness and conscious living, and to keep diving into why I'm here. And to appreciate this moment. Because yesterday I legit thought I couldn't do this. I was like, I'm crying way too much to be able to pull this shit together. But here we are. And so to round this out with chaos. We can't make sense of chaos, but we can stay steady through it. So join me in a commitment to finding what steadiness looks like in your life and doing it unrelentingly without sacrificing you. Thank you, guys.
All right, so we have just enough time for one no pressure, really good question. I know, you're all like jumping to ask your questions already, so this is really great. Oh, Alex.
Okay.
Yeah? We need a dude. More dudes.
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll stand for this. So I can't promise this is going to be a really good question, but I was reflecting on what you were saying. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you being very vulnerable. It really resonates with me, and I see a lot of the same struggles I've had. So I've also tried to work to build a lot of really healthy habits, and it's made such a huge improvement in my life, and like there's still tons of work to do. But I'm happy for what I've got. One of the things that I have a hard time with is like seeing other people in my life, whether they're colleagues or friends or family, that are going through maybe some of the struggles that I've had or have self-destructive behaviors and wanting to help, but having to respect that everyone has to come to their own conclusions and understanding what's appropriate to try to help someone with and things like that. And that's something that I have a hard time with. So do you have any thoughts on like when you see someone else going through the troubles you've had, how you can be understanding and supportive and help them find that without overstepping your spot?
For sure. So my husband and I go through this all the time. So yes, fiance became husband this year. Very happy. So we were talking about this actually last week. I've gone through, like, as I shared, like a lot of transformation the past 2 years, so has he. And there came a moment where he was talking about his experience with work and where it resonated so deeply because something that is very detrimental to us as humans is boredom. So boredom and apathy are like the ultimate, we got to wake ourselves up from that. I get to boredom when I'm not taking care of myself and when I'm not prioritizing how I build my day and the intention and the motivation that exists to underlie all of it. So I was like sitting there and I had just done this work with my coach and I was like, but I'm not your teacher. I'm not here to teach you, I'm here to witness you. Anytime that I go from witness to teacher without someone's permission, it's harmful for both of us. I do it all the time, but I'm working to pull back. And that knowing that the better I get, the more well that I become in my mind, I notice that the people around me up-level as well. Actions speak louder than words. Actions showcase priorities. So yes, it hurts to see them in their pain, but know, and this is a rationalization I give myself, it's not a fact, that there may come a time where they wake up and that you'll be there for it. But if their detrimental habits are negatively impacting you to a point where you need to move on, just take a time out. And that's okay. I'm not about this like cut relationships. You need to get that shit out of your life. I think you can work through it with people, and sometimes a pause is good. But acknowledging that I'm here to witness. True friendship is witness, the privilege of witness, and not to fix or to teach. Thank you, guys.